I have to say, Victor, after hearing your story about your name, I wish Mom and Dad would have agonized just a little bit longer. As Victor said, if Dad was anything, he was the most loyal person we ever knew. He was also the most persistent person I've ever known, who, once he made a commitment, would persevere through anything to meet that commitment. From Hebrews chapter 12, and I'm paraphrasing here. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, with our eyes fixed on Jesus, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. The Christian life is not easy, and it involves hard work. Dad never gave up on anything, and especially not on his family, and the things he cared about most. Things like this church, as Victor mentioned. Mom and Dad have been members since 1954. That's 63 years. And as Victor pointed out, Dad was treasurer for what, 50 of them? Seems like it. He was my entire life that I can recall growing up. And now, after resisting for many years, what am I doing in my church at home? Finances. Thanks a lot, Dad. Appreciate it. More personally, though, Dad persevered with me. When, through my own immaturity, I struggled in college and undergrad, but Dad never quit on me. When many parents would have thrown in the towel and said, "You're on your own," not my dad. He stuck with me and had faith I'd be okay. And I'm forever grateful for his perseverance in me. He was committed to all of his children through his whole life, and not just until we left home. He single-handedly wired Victor's entire nursery, as he said. He came to Denver and planted 44 plants in Leslie's yard at the age of 65. And in the midst of sadness and brokenness, flew to Omaha, and at age 77, helped Sarah pack and move to Billings, Montana, to begin a new life there. It may have taken some convincing initially, but whatever the situation, Dad was always there for us, no matter what the situation or the circumstance. He believed in us, trusted us, and helped guide us his entire life. And Dad helped others as well. Already we have received many comments from people Dad has touched through his life, remembering times when Dad offered and provided help or advice to them in some way. I remember a time early in Little League, we seem to have similar themes. One of my first teams, and Dad was a coach on the team. And there was a boy there with a glove on his right hand trying to throw the ball with his left. And he could barely throw the ball 10 feet. And Dad came up to the boy and he said, "Hey, let's try something. Put your glove down and take the ball in your right hand. And let's give it a try." Well, the boy did, and he threw it much, much farther than he had with his left hand. After practice, my dad found that boy's father, who would come to pick him up, and explain to him what happened. And in a gentle way, the father first said, "I throw it with my left hand, and I just assumed he would too." My dad said, "Well, your son is right-handed." A humorous but true story of how Dad was always willing to reach out to others as well. Many of you may be familiar with Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation. In that book, he characterizes this generation, of which my dad and my mom are a part, as one that lived their lives committed to duty, honor, and service. That was my dad. I could go on and on, but will conclude with this summary. The saddest part of Dad losing his hearing was losing his ability to hear music and to sing and whistle. Dad loved music, had a beautiful baritone voice, and was a good musician. He and Mom passed that on to all of us, and we to our children. So it's fitting, I think, that a song came to my mind that characterizes my dad. Not one he would have known, but one that is special to me and meaningful to me. It's called The Stuff That Works, written by Guy Clark, who also passed away within the last year. For those of you unfamiliar with Guy Clark, he's a singer-songwriter who's based out of Nashville, and he's also well known in country music circles as a wonderful lyricist. The chorus of the song goes like this: the stuff that works, the stuff that holds up, the kind of stuff you don't hang on a wall, the stuff that's real, the stuff you feel, the kind of stuff you reach for when you fall. The stuff that works. My dad always had a deep respect for the responsibility and value of hard work. The stuff that holds up, as you have heard and witnessed. Dad was forever loyal, persevered, and held up under any circumstances. The kind of stuff you don't hang on a wall. Dad never sought accolades. He gave generously, with humility, never boastful, and without fanfare. The stuff that's real. Okay, here we go. I think there's one thing on which we all can agree, and that is, whatever the circumstance or the conversation, like it or not, you knew where Ernie Swanson was coming from. Dad was real. The stuff you feel, perhaps less evident to some, but certainly clear to his family, that underneath that rough and sometimes callous exterior, Dad was a very sentimental person who felt deeply, loved immeasurably, and cared greatly. The kind of stuff you reach for when you fall. This may be true for some of you as well. But for us, his children, Dad was always the stuff, the guy, the man we reached for when we fell. We're going to miss you, Dad, but your legacy lives on. We love you, and we are so grateful to be